Hello, 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 people. Welcome to another episode of Lead, Laugh, Love, End of the World edition here, election week 2020, getting real. But what we're going to be talking about today is the polar opposite of all of that fear and anxiety. What we're talking about today is love. What do we do as leaders, as humans? How can we understand and utilize love in our personal and professional life? I'm extremely excited to jump into this conversation today. There's so many angles that we can approach this from: personally, professionally, taking care of your family, taking care of your employees. So many positive things happen when you're operating on the frequency of love. And that's what we're trying to do here today, is understand that conversation from every angle possible. So what we're going to crack open today is an episode hosted by Dr. Brian Harman, one of the best leaders out there, leading with love. Grateful to have him in the mix. And our brilliant gentleman, as usual, will be joining the conversation. Please drop your comments, your questions, anything and everything. Please welcome to Lead, Laugh, Love.
What you gonna do? Gotta lead with the love. Lead with the love.
What's up? How you doing?
What's up? Doing
I'm
well.
good.
Doing well.
How y'all doing?
Feeling lovey today.
Said I'm good. How y'all doing?
Guys, we're not doing the headphones and the mic anymore.
No, been away that game.
Nobody gave me the memo.
That was so 2020.
That's why he's here over here. Oh, nice. Okay, that's why I have to make these pre-show meetings. I want to open with that. Here. I want to open with that. Nobody told me that we have a pre-show meeting every single week. So then now I feel like I've been the diva of the group, the Mariah Carey, showing up 1 minute before, and then like you guys have all been hanging out, probably talking crap about me missing these pre-show meetings. What are you guys doing those?
You're like the Amarian of B2K. You're like the
the Justin Timberlake.
Yeah.
You just think you're the
the Ginger Spice.
The Nick Carter.
Yeah. That was a good one.
Actually, I'm headed more towards Aaron Carter with the drug addiction. So
that's right.
That might be the case.
You heard it here first.
Well, it's good to see you guys. I will tell you, as the host for today's episode, I'm pretty pumped up. One of the reasons that I come online and I come to LinkedIn is for the love like this, being together with you guys. There's so much other nonsense, frustration. It's been an eventful year. I think we're all kind of sick of that. So this is such a great break for me. I love you guys. So we'll start off with that. And I want to just ask you what it means for you. But before I do, I'll tell you what it means for me is I think love is something that we feel. It's something that you live. It's the energy that's in every moment. I think it's the space between the stars. But every person on the planet has this force of love that they're capable of. I think it connects all of our experiences. It connects us, even though we haven't met in person. I've had love in my life that I hope everyone can experience, because at this state of mind, I know that there's no limits or boundaries to the holistic success that I can achieve and beyond. So I'll start with Alex. Question number one for my fellow dad.
Of course.
You're a dad. I'm a dad. We love a bunch of things differently. Like I love coffee. I love working out. I just finished with my personal trainer, so I'm still sweating. But what is love for you?
We do a dramatic pause. Really build up the effect here, I think, I definitely think love is I definitely think it's a feeling and an energy, no doubt about it. But I also think it's a commitment. I think about like my kids and the people that I love in my life, my friends, my clients. I have a love for them. It's not always this feeling that I always feel inside. Sometimes it's a commitment that I make, that I say that I will do anything for this person. Like if they need me, I'm there. And I think it's that's where you build obviously trust and honesty. And I think that all goes into the love equation. So I don't just think it's a feeling. I think it's a choice, right? It's an action. It's a commitment that you have to have for the people that you say that you love. That's my thought. But what do I know?
Man, I think you know a lot. I think you just described it pretty damn well. I know Ravi doesn't have a lot of love in his life. Ravi, what do you think about it?
Well, actually, Brian Harman, I want to show you what love is. Right, hold on. I'm not going to do anything weird. Hold on.
Oh, God.
Okay, so I've got...
I'm worried.
This is one. Okay.
Oh, the West Highland Terrier.
Okay, 1 second. Come here, Hamish.
Rob, is that a West Highland Terrier?
Oh, we got two. You hear that growl from the second one?
Can you not hear me?
That's a Westie, so that's a West Highland Terrier.
Yeah, no, he hears you. He
Jesus,
not to listen.
Literally just said that,
dude. I'm not gonna lie. The dog just growled, and I thought it was gonna bite.
Dude,
what was the question? What is love to me?
Yeah.
When you can be who you really are, like I mean, the dorky, nerdy, like just you, and somebody doesn't say, "Oh man, I accept you, respect you, or love you." In spite of that, it's because of that. And that could be friends, that could be co-workers, that could be like us lot. Like, we don't have to be somebody we're not around each other, because actually who we are, it's not, oh, that's good enough. It's no, we love each other because of that. So for me, it all boils down to being comfortable in your own skin around those specific people, because you can, because you've got that deep connection. And it's weird. Sometimes you just feel it. Like, you could think about one of your friends. You can't just describe it, but it's the excitement. Like, how many of you were excited before you got in here today? Don't lie. All of us, right? It's just fun.
Yeah.
I can't explain it, man, you know?
John, what do you think?
Oh, I'm not trying to be a negative Nancy. I think it's just like what's been going on immediately, like in the world, I feel like where there is love, there is pain. And, that seems to be like, I don't know. Every time like I've really loved something, I do kind of like have it in the back of my mind, like, pain is going to be, it's just going to be a part of the equation, right? Like, especially like right now, I love creating videos, right? But I recognize that LinkedIn is not showcasing that type of content right now. So I have so much love for it. I want to do it, but I recognize that like, you have to think long-term, you have to pivot at any moment. So now I'm trying to embrace other kinds of content, but really it's something that goes so much further than that. And it applies to so many elements, so many parts of your life. Like, I don't feel like you can really live the complete human experience without like having love for something, someone, experiencing that pain, the sorrow, going through all of that. And I think it's the absolute most human thing that we can go through. And I guess that's how I feel about love. I think about that pain as well.
There's a thin line between love and hate, they say. Love's a powerful thing, right? So it's a lot of emotion, a lot of he's playing the violin.
Is that some type of European violin? Because it's like
I don't know what that was.
It looks like the left arm in your banner photo, Ravi. It's all crooked and broken.
Shots fired, dude. Dang.
You know what's funny about that, JP? I'm not feeling the love. Are you okay? You know what's changed about JP?
Hey, I can't do my videos.
Ladies and gents, if anybody feels that JP has changed since he got 50K followers, can we put yes in the chat or no? Because I feel a different JP that's come to this chat. I don't know. Like, does anybody else agree? Come on, guys.
Yeah, no, I'm legit worried. I asked him about the meaning of life, and he went right into video organic reach.
I know, right?
Yeah, so for me,
without even thinking about it, right there.
Oh,
that's hilarious.
I don't have a life if you didn't notice. This is it.
Okay, so next set of question for you guys. You can't love from an empty bucket. If you don't love yourself, you're going to be a really shitty partner. You're going to be a really shitty friend, at least not the best that you can be. The same way that if you trust yourself, then others can trust you. Trust and love are very similar in that they're reciprocal. But it starts with you. If you love yourself, really, really, truly practicing self-love, committing to that, making a strategy for it, planning for it, whether that's meditation, reading, living a life that you built based on your values and your goals, then you can really love other people to a whole new level than if you are facing that internal dialogue that's just crushing. So I wonder what you guys think about this.
Absolutely critical. Self-love. You have to, like anything, I think you got to take care of it. If the plane's going down, you got to put on your own mask first. You got to make sure that you can breathe, and then you can help other people breathe and save their lives. So it's the same way. That's something I personally went through the past even 3 to 6 months, was just really learning to be okay by myself, like learning to love myself for who I am and to be proud of myself, and obviously work on my shortcomings and know that I have faults like everyone and do my best to overcome those and work on them. But just really learning, because I had a friend one day, I was talking to her, I was like, hey, I'm pretty happy like when I'm in the business, and I'm pretty happy like when I'm with my kids and when I'm like with my clients, but then I get alone and all of a sudden I'm not as happy. And she goes, maybe it's the person that you're with. And I was like, oh, like it hit me, right? So I realized I needed to work on myself. I needed to figure out, why was I not happy when I'm with just myself? And so, Brian, to your point, it takes work. You have to consciously think about it. You have to think about what you love about yourself, respect yourself, what makes you proud, but then also think about, what about when I look in the mirror, what are the things that I don't like, that I do need to change, that I do need to adjust? And a lot of it revolves around discipline and staying focused to the commitments that you make. And I think that when you have that, when you're full with love of yourself, it's so much easier to give to other people. You're not going to somebody else to try to take because you're empty. You're going to them to give because you're already full. So it's everything.
I think Alex just finished a TED Talk right there.
Mic drop.
Actually, really beautiful, man.
I feel like self-love is so important, because it's like you really can't really be your best self without it. I almost feel like it's like, when you're driving and like, let's say that you parked on a hill, so you put on like the emergency brake. Have you ever tried like driving with the emergency brake on?
Yes.
You're like, you're moving slower. You don't know why, but you know that something's not right. And I feel like you can't really be at your best because you got that emergency brake, which is like that self-love that you don't always recognize is pulled up. But yeah, like it, and that something's holding you back. And I think that once you can release that and just start, then you can gut it. Then you can really start driving in the right direction. But without it, something's always going to be holding you back. So I think it's important to recognize that,
It's like, imagine you're at a party, right? And there's like 100 people. And then there's this one girl or guy who is full of energy. Like, they're not even saying anything. They just walk up in the room and it's magnetic. They've just got this vibe about them. And suddenly you want to be around this person because they've invested time into themselves to cultivate that energy and vibration and frequency to ultimately, it attracts the right people. But if you see somebody who's consistently down and out of the party, who wants to be around that person? Like to a point, yeah, you want to help people, no doubt. But consistently, we've all had a friend. We're like, come on, man, come on, go, right? We got to fix this up now. We got to start making progress towards ourselves. So I think this concept of filling up our own cup is often, I know for me, there's been times where I felt guilty about it. I'm like, I'm focusing on me when I should be doing this, that. But actually, the number one thing we can do is focus on giving to ourselves. So we take our energy to that level. And as a result, we can then give to others versus giving from an empty tank. Because then you give people 50% of you versus 100%. You're actually doing them a disjustice or disservice, rather. If that's even a word.
It is now.
It is now, baby.
Words here on Deep Love. Okay.
One thing I'm curious about, I want to hear your guys' thoughts, not to hijack the questions. But how do you differentiate the love that you feel towards maybe a family member or a friend like what we have versus the romantic love?
I don't. I mean, yeah.
That was very abrupt.
Yeah.
I don't. What?
What do you mean, Alex? Do you mean in terms of behavior and how we treat?
I just mean how is it different? Because I can think about how I love my kids. I mean, I would jump in front of a truck if it was coming at them. Like I would literally give my own life in a split second. And the way I love my clients, the way I love you guys, the way I love friends, it's just like it's a deep care, right? Like I would do anything. Like if you guys need anything, I would drop it and go. But that's different than the love or being in love with somebody. I don't know if this is where we're going with the show, but we are now. But how do you know, like, what's that kind of love? Like you guys I'm the only single one on here, right? You guys are all in relationships.
Yeah.
So what is that love like? How does it differ romantically than it does traditionally?
I mean, the number one thing I took away from that is that you wouldn't run through a brick wall for us. But I mean, I don't know if anybody else caught that.
Yeah,
I pretty much would.
That's what I took away from it. I didn't hear anything else.
Well, no, I think there's a protective element in the child scenario, the safety and security piece that you don't necessarily have to worry about when it comes to your friends. You give them enough faith that they're not going to be in front of the bus or the truck or whatever the scenario is. I think at the core it's the same, though. I like that you said it was a commitment. It's a feeling. It's an energy. I think one way to define this is actually by asking another question is, what do you love most about yourself and what do you love most about your partner?
What
do you love most about yourself, John?
Wait. Fuck. How'd you know?
Because you're scripted.
Like I was about to say it.
What'd you say? What did you say? I missed it.
No, but really.
No, really. I actually like to kind of go back to what we were saying is I feel like I've heard the saying before. It's like like there's three versions of you, right? Like there's the version that the public knows about you, and then there's the version that just your family kind of knows about you, and then there's the person that you are when you're all alone, right? And I feel like your partner probably knows that side of you best, right?
Yeah.
So people are going to love each version of you differently. Your partner is theoretically going to see the most real version of you, even more so than your parents and your brothers and sisters or whatever. And, they'll kind of see another person, and then the public will see a completely different person. The thing that I always struggled with is my first wife. She always had this argument with me that she said, I was acting fake with like friends or, the public or what have you. And she said, well, that's not the real you. But then it's like, I would always kind of go back to the thought that, yeah, well, we have different sides of ourselves that we present. Like obviously at your job, when you're with your friends, you want to cast a more positive light, because who wants to spend time with people that have struggles or, whatever, maybe sometimes miserable, like they're not around you the day to day. You get excited when you see, like, I get excited when I see you guys. So obviously, an hour before I got to this conversation, I was not in the best mood, but, now I am, because I'm having fun with this. So, it's just, I think everybody gets a different version of you. And so when it comes to the love that you have for your partner, compared to a family member or friends, of course it's going to be different, because they're getting all different versions of us. So there's different things to love.
Mm-hmm.
That was helpful, bro. Interesting.
Not just a pretty face back there, huh, John?
I try to hide it.
Okay, good. So let's come back to this. What do you guys love most about yourself, Alex, Ravi?
I love that. Can I say two things? I'm glad you asked. I've actually got an notes app full of I do think it's two big things for me. One is that I do have a lot of, I do genuinely care about people, like really, really, really care about people. I would help just about anybody I possibly could. And I admire that about myself and others. I think that's an important trait. Just at your heart, you're a good person. And two, I love the fact how committed I am. If I take on something, like, it's full steam ahead. I haven't met a lot of people that have that kind of dedication. I talked about scrapping the plan B and going full steam on the plan A. That's just the type of person I am. Like if I'm going to jump in something, like I'm going to give it everything I got obsessively. And so that's it. I
want to touch on that for a second, Alex, because I kind of, I'm going to present it as a struggle because I recognize that I have an addiction and I know that it's a problem. At what point is it, can we like be so in love with something where it reaches borderline obsession where it can be considered unhealthy?
Oh, totally. I mean, that's the blessing and the curse of having an addictive personality. It's a blessing and a curse. It's like your biggest talent is that I'll take something and be fucking obsessed with it. Where most people will go this level, I'll out obsess with you. Like whatever time you're going to spend on it, I'll do 50 times more. I don't care. But that can be a negative when it's either something not positive. So like in my youth, I was obsessed with things that got me into trouble and that was bad. Or even if it is a positive thing, it still can put you in a bad spot sometimes, because if you're leveraging everything into that one thing, you may be missing out on other buckets of your life. So I do think in a lot of cases, some of our biggest strengths can also sometimes be the weaknesses we need to watch out for.
That is an interesting point, JP, where you make about the addiction. Were you specifically talking about social media there? Were you talking about LinkedIn or was there
No, I think it relates to relationships. We can become obsessed with a relationship.
Oh,
like
totally.
We've all been there where it's just like we put aside work responsibilities or family. We alienate other people because we're so hyper-focused with making someone happy. It really applies to anything.
Yes, absolutely.
And it does also boil down to that concept of, imagine if you give something, it's that tough thing about balance, right? Is if you give something 100, naturally there are going to be other things that take a back seat. You become quite a boring individual if all you are is defined by one thing. So if you are loving one specific person at that point in time, one specific job, one specific industry, if that's all you become, actually, you become quite a boring individual. And when you start learning that, okay, self-love is about, well, let's talk about just being an interesting person, having different interests. Going back to Brian, what you said about, for example, what do we love about our partners? One of the things that I really love about my partner is she rides a Harley Davidson, dude. Like I am so scared. There's no way I'd do that, right? Like she is really, really not defined by her career or business. And I know there's points in my life where I get obsessive about my business and my career, and I go tunnel vision, and I can't see anything outside of that. But that can lead to being defined by it, which then an over-reliance on one thing, if a 1% shift happens on what you're over-reliant upon, that can send you, 0 to 100 real quick. So it's quite interesting when we talk about this concept of addiction, obsession, because like Ab said, it's a blessing and a curse. But I think going back to what you said, that is one thing I love about my partners, tremendously, is that she's able to have these different interests and not be defined by one specific thing.
The way that an obsession can be painful and harmful is when that obsession isn't self-love. And that's why it starts with self-love. If you're redirecting your love into some obsession instead of yourself, that's when you've just broken the self-love, and now your bucket is actually going in the wrong direction. So I think obsession is just a redirection of infatuation in the wrong thing. I think the only thing that you should be obsessed with is self-love.
But then, Brian, do you not think, I'm intrigued to know your opinion on this, by being obsessive about one specific thing, do you think it could actually highlight the areas where you are deficient in self-love? So, for example, let's take the individual. We've all heard the story, right? 50 plus, alone, got all the money, but as a result, got nothing else to show for it. So that obsession was simply there to really validate and cover up deficiencies elsewhere. So it's like, it's hard to spot that, because at one point you think, well, no, this is healthy. Before you know it, boom, you're that individual. I've seen it around me a lot, especially when I was in the world of investment banking. I would see it clearly when I would walk on the trading floor. Tons of individuals who had experienced exactly what I said. Lots of financial success, but nothing else.
Now with those people, what I find super interesting about that point is, that's that's when they play the tape to the end, right? They play the tape to the end, and at the very end, they realize like, oh my God, I spent all of this time doing this thing. I got the thing that I wanted, and now I'm miserable. But how were they during those 10 years? Were they miserable those 10 years? Because like, I mean, I've been in enough scenarios to know that it's like the journey is the fun part, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like the journey when you're going through the grind and and especially like the four of us right now in the room, like we're so excited about what we're doing, you know, we're having an amazing time with the experience and the journey. Yet, like, I have no doubt that we will reach the end and then say to ourselves, oh my God, I can't believe how many hours I spent doing X, Y, and Z. But I think that it's super important that we remember these moments where, and we're so lucky to have it recorded, because it would be very easy for me to go back and say, man, like I was miserable. I was working way too hard. Why did I put all this time into it? Because look at it. Now I feel empty. And I just feel like, man, that's anything in life. Like once you reach that goal, there is going to be a depression, because it's like, okay, now it's like it's all over. You know, the journey was the fun part.
And that's why, like, is there really ever like an end goal? You know, it's like, is there what's the it's just the next thing. So it's like, for me, I don't even have some like major goal. It's just like building the business, making an impact, trying to be a good dad, like trying to enjoy life, make some time for personal stuff. And because there is, and once you hit a goal, then it's like, okay, then it's the next big thing, right? It's like climbing a mountaintop. It's like, you got to have fun climbing. It's not to say that you're not trying to get to the next level. You are, but you're enjoying the climb as you go. Versus the other two ways where you could go, where all you do is look at the top and you're like, yeah, cool, we got to keep going. Yeah, cool, we got to keep going. Yeah, cool, shut up, we got to keep going. Or you just sit at the bottom of the mountain and just dwell, and you don't have any goals or any ambitions to go higher. So I don't think those two work. I think it's the balance of both. It's climbing to the top, but it's just enjoying every single ledge that you're on.
How many founders, CEOs, entrepreneurs who have sold their businesses say, I can't wait because I want to retire at 32, 35, whatever it might be? How many stories have you read about these individuals who then later on, a year later, they go set up shop again because they realized it's just they actually love the process specifically. But I do think it is hard. I personally often, when I'm in it and stuff is being, you know, thrown at me left, right, and center, yes, I do love it. But at the same time, it is hard. Sometimes you need to take a step back and go, oh no, I'm in this because I love this, and actually these are the reasons why. And sometimes you need to feel out of alignment to realize what it was like when you're in alignment. And I think that's one of the big things that I've realized over the years, is that it's easy to say these things when you're, say, in a calm state. When stuff is frantic, you're like, oh my God, I wish it was calm. And then when it's calmer, you get to reflect and you go, no, man, that was actually good. That was actually good. And it's you want to be present, right? You want to be in the moment.
That's the key. No, that's the key, though. That's the key. Being in the moment and being present and maximizing your time and letting yourself have time to do things that aren't, you know, in the work buckets. Because oftentimes for me, sometimes I literally feel guilty if I'm taking time away to do something. If I'm with my kids, I don't, because it's just my family time. But if it's just me here and I'm like not doing work, like if I just stopped working tonight at 6 o'clock and did nothing else, I would literally feel like lazy. Even though I started at 6:30 and I've been working this whole day, I would feel lazy, you know? So it's something I'm trying to train my brain of, like, there's nothing wrong with it. If you want to stop at 6 and start again tomorrow, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You work your ass off every day. Like, so that's, again, I think, you know, all this stuff comes back to self-awareness and just understanding, the process, the journey. Are you happy doing what you're doing? And if you're not, how do you make the tweaks and changes to be happy as you're building this empire that you want to build? And there's going to be some days where you have to just muscle through and you're like, hey, I don't want to do this shit, but I got to do it. It is what it is. Right. But there's a lot of other times where you're going to say, I'm in a good place to stop, and I'm going to do something that is away from work that I want to do. And that's how it's going to be.
And it's so confusing because if you get lucky enough to do something that you really enjoy doing, it is very, 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 very difficult to decipher when you need a break, or like when it's time to take, relax. Because if you really love what you're doing, you're going to put way more time into it than somebody that, like they clock in 9 to 5, they can walk away, they can go home, like they have no problem. But if you really love doing it, man, like you will fatigue yourself, you will overwork yourself. Like, I want to kind of hear Brian's process, because, you know, he had mentioned the fact, and his story is incredible, like how fast he's grown, where he started, and the fact that like he has legitimately not taken any time off since January. Like, Brian, how do you avoid that burnout? And how do you know, okay, now is the time that I need to take a break?
Yeah. Well, one of the reasons that the four of us became friends, or one of the four reasons that the four of us love each other as friends, is because we all left behind our corporate careers to follow our passions. And that changed, that tipping point for all four of us, where we decided, man, I am worthy of my vision. That is a practice of self-love, to say that I'm going to go and do this new thing now. So I believe that we do the hard work, that it's actually a self-loving act. And I'm not saying go crazy and put your mental health and physical health on the line, but I am saying that this work is a form of self-love for me. I believe that I'm worthy of my vision, and I'm going to continue going after it, even if it's hard work. I love Monday morning. I love my first client call. I love coming into this. This is like a little mental health break for me, because it's not client time. So yeah, I think it's fine. We got to do what we got to do to make sure that we're our own warriors when it comes to supporting ourselves.
Do you feel like only having one day off since January, though, is something that you need to reflect and adjust? Is that you not showing enough self-love in maybe other areas? Or do you feel like I'm on my vision, like I'm doing my thing, I spend my time with my family, and I'm good?
Yeah, there's certainly, and I'm taking 3 weeks off in December to actually spend solid, uninterrupted time with my son and my wife. So yeah, it requires you to pause and reflect all the time. That is also another form of self-love. But I'm not complaining about it. I took actually 3 days off since January. 1 was a real day off, and 2 were because I moved. This is fun. This is fun for me. And not every day it's not like I'm not seeing my son. I wake up with him. We have dinner together. We go to bed together and all that stuff. So it's still, there's a lot in there that has flexibility, also because I work from home and I get to spend that time with him. But yeah, in reality, I'm working too hard. I'm working too many hours. And in 2021 and moving forwards, that will certainly change.
I know that I know that this is a little deep, but I think that it's an important conversation to have, because I don't see enough people doing it. But I do feel like, to a degree, my relationship wasn't strong with my partner prior to LinkedIn. I feel like it became even more strained because of LinkedIn. One of the things that doesn't get talked about quite as much is LinkedIn is very much a utopia, right? Like, it is such a positive platform. It's like a self-help book community, right? Mm-hmm. And, it could be because like your reputation is on the line every time you do a post or whatever it may be. But you do find that, like, from a chemical perspective, like, I want the rush of dopamine, right? I want the endorphins that come from the validation that people give me, or even just having a community of supportive people where the world is dark, especially right now. It's very easy in life, if you don't like the outcome of a conversation, you can just kind of get lost in this world. You can get lost in this, like in that Avatar world. It's just like you just get lost in it, and it consumes you. And you do, like, I have felt like more and more of a disconnect between people, because this world makes me happier. But this world is also something that's online. It's very real. The people are real. But like when it comes to love, I don't think that I've been a very loving partner because of the love that instead I'm giving to this platform.
I wonder, Ravi, along the lines of what Jonathan is saying here. By the way, my oldest brother is Jonathan.
Oh, that's so cool.
I don't know if I ever told you that.
Is he cute? Is he better looking?
No, he's big like you.
You have a brother called Ravi as well?
No? Not by blood, no. So here's my question.
Wow, that was the nicest thing you've ever said to Ravi.
I know.
Let's take a moment to acknowledge that.
We're talking about love. I thought it'd be a little sweet. But here, let me give you 2 worlds, Ravi.
Okay, give me 2 words, man.
2 worlds. What a dick.
High five.
And it's back. That moment of love was very short-lived between Ravi and I.
Yeah, no kidding.
Sorry.
Two worlds. Two worlds.
Two worlds.
One world is a world where everyone has a really, really extreme, healthy sense of self-love.
Okay.
The other world is today. People don't care about themselves. They work in jobs they hate. They don't practice self-love. They put their physical and mental health on the back burner for a company and career that really comes at a serious cost to them and their holistic success.
Yeah.
What can we do? From John's scenario is, how can we get out of that? How can you shake us out of that into that other world where people have super healthy relationships with themselves and other people?
Okay, well, so here's why I'm torn by that, is that in the world we're in today, there's pain and there's problems. But where there's pain and there's problems, there's opportunity and there's growth. Because I don't know about you, but some of my most growth-worthy moments have happened through pain or through times where stuff didn't work out for me. Versus in a world where everybody was harmoniously caring about themselves, etc., it's like saying, I don't know, the entrepreneurs of the world have just cured every single problem and there's clean water, there's enough food. Like, that sounds quite harsh what I'm about to say, but there needs to be problems in the world and in our lives, because otherwise we're not going to strive for progress. And if we don't strive for progress and that next version of us, we will become depressed because
Yeah, but there's the other kind of problems that we'd always have. It doesn't have to be self-love though. Like we're like, pretty soon our problem's going to be, we need another earth to live on, or X, Y, and Z is happening and we have to shift the way that we're living right now. So I think there's always going to be challenges, right? If everyone loved themselves like they should, all of a sudden we'd have this new set of problems. We'd have this new set of challenges. So I think that the challenges are always going to be there, but I think we have to, it's on us. I think it's on the individual, obviously, to reflect and dig deep within themselves and explore their own self-love, of course. But I look at it as it's my opportunity to impact people and change the world for the better by talking about this, by sharing my story, by sharing what I've been through, by sharing what it's like to love yourself versus not love yourself. And so me, that's how I make the difference. That's how I think we all make the difference, is we have to live it. We have to share it.
But Brian, actually, on what Alex just mentioned as well, you can't be what you can't see. So if you look at the conversations we were having, if us four were in this room 10 years ago, I think the conversations would be very, very different.
Yeah, totally.
Like very different. And we've been forced into introspection through what's been going on this year. And the types of conversations, the richness, the value in the conversations that we're having, asking the difficult questions, taking a look at where we are now, where we want to be, are we surrounded by the right people, right environment, etc. That is actually, take health risks aside. I'm talking about this specific level of introspection. That is surely great. And it does take us more towards that level of self-awareness and self-love. I think it's, for many, it's been an interesting time where they've taken rapid shifts in what they're doing in life. Really rapid shifts.
I don't think we ever got to hear it, Ravi. What do you love most about yourself?
Yeah, you didn't ask this. What do I love most about myself? Oh, it's a lot. Okay.
Where do I start?
Where do I start here? No, genuinely, what I love about
page 2.
Right, hold on. Let me get my book. No, genuinely. Hold on. Shabnam, I will answer this. Shabnam said, Ravi, weren't you in high school 10 years ago? Harsh. I wasn't, actually. I just come out of university, Shabnam, so what do I love about myself? One thing I love about myself is my ability to create instant connections with people. It's one thing that I've been very good at since I was at a young age. I could walk into a party, into a room, and I could know nobody, but I would be able to go into that room and walk out with either people who become lifelong friends or, get added to my network or have a great conversation with that evening. So my ability to instantly build rapport with people.
I'd love to get Shabnam in the room, because she calls you babyface, but she's probably twice as old as you think. I had a private conversation with her. I know how old she is. I'm not going to say, but if she told you her real age, you wouldn't believe her. That's how she looks.
Dude, I spoke to her on Zoom the other day, and we had a conversation about it. I was like, "Stop lying, stop lying." She was like, "No."
Yeah. It must be self-love. Might be the secret. She's got to tell us the secrets there.
It's some moisturizer that I need, man. It's lovely.
Speaking of moisturizer, John, what else do you have to say about this topic?
Speaking of baby oil, what else do you have to say about this topic, Jason?
I have no comment because I'm not aging that great. LinkedIn's like taking years off my life right now. So yeah.
That's because you sleep.
Like this is just like by my desk right now. Yeah, these aren't helping my case.
We need to bring
no comment. Yeah.
Hashtag obsession.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hashtag addiction.
I've been going with this little black cherry sparkling water. It's very, very good.
How many cals? How many cals we got in that?
It's 0.
Oh, nice.
It's water and a sprinkle of black cherry. I just picture someone just taking the cherry and going, squeezing the juice out, and then it's the perfect water.
So it's like virgin White Claw.
Yeah, exactly.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Can't do that stuff.
I think we have a guest coming on. It looks like we've got a guest.
Who's the guest?
Travis?
We need Shabnam in here.
We don't have a guest yet, but thanks for the decoy.
Oh, Trav.
Pull her in, bro.
Travis, come back.
Hey, Trav, come on.
I want to hear what he loves about himself.
Oh boy, you don't want to crack that.
Trav,
one
what do you
open.
love about yourself?
No, I mean, this honestly I've been really excited to hear this conversation from other people's perspective, because this is something I struggle with internally, hugely on that self-love category. Finally realizing that truly is the keystone, like, of all of this. Loving your work, your family, I've been through other relationships where it was so obvious that self-love wasn't there, that it extrapolated just in awful ways. So that's been something I've been struggling with, like, all through my 20s, of super like over loving most of my life, and then the last like 5-10 years it's been almost the opposite, like very, very protective of who I let in my circle, why are you here in my life, what are you here for, like deep like concern of what's going on here. So that's been my
is that because you
focusing on that.
Is that because you let people in before and it didn't go well? They hurt you? That you're now
yeah, so there's a lot longer story that we won't be able to fit in 5 minutes for that one.
Let's try it, Trav.
The condensed version, at one point in my life, after making like the transition after hockey and music, I'd thought like we were having kids, we were getting married, like bought the ring, and like 100% in my life thought that was happening. A few months later, none of the above were happening. So lots of details to fill in between that gap, for another episode, another day. But definitely have realized that keystone that you guys are mentioning, that self-love, without that, you can't move forward into these other categories of love that everybody else is mentioning. So love for myself. I really do think I have this competitive creative talent, that's very rare. And I love to extrapolate that outward here. As you guys may have noticed this year. So that's a huge thing I do love about myself, is being able to help other people's convert from idea to reality. Whether it's their dreams, their passion, or just simple things in that category. That's what seems to work for me. But I see Shabnam jumped in here, so I'm going to get the hell out of here and bring her in. Love you guys so much. This has been amazing.
Love you too, bro.
Welcome to the party,
Shabnam. Oh, my
Shabnam.
There she is.
What's happening?
All right.
Control in the comments.
Yeah, who's got a question for Shabnam?
Oh gosh, I'm a bit scared now after ruffling Ravi's feathers by calling him a high school boy 10 years ago. But that was a compliment. It was a compliment.
My grey hair wouldn't say that, Shabnam, but hey, I appreciate it. What's the question for Shabnam? One, what moisturizer do you use? Because we were wondering. Right. And then Brian has a question for you.
Well, I don't use moisturizer, so that one's an easy one.
That's the secret. We've been getting it wrong. L'Oreal and Livia have been
really, really low maintenance. The secret is obviously bulk buying dark brown hair color. That's about it.
You liar, man. You liar. Ryan, what's the question?
Yeah, I have a question is, how do you practice self-love?
I think for me, the biggest thing, and it's been a long journey. So, you know, the looking younger has got nothing to do with self-love for me, because I've been horrible to myself most of my adult life. So how I practice this now is being really mindful of how I speak to myself. The biggest thing that I realized was how harsh I was in my language to myself. And I think we are our most harshest critics, and the things we say to ourselves would never say to somebody that we love. Changing that dialogue, I think, has changed everything for me. So just making sure, because it slips, you know, things slip in. I might find myself being really critical about things that I do, and then stopping myself and reminding myself, well, actually, you know what? This is not how I would speak to my son or my partner or somebody I love. I'm being mindful of how I encourage myself and accept my flaws, things that I'm not, you know, necessarily good at, but saying it's all right, I'm working on it. And I think that's the biggest change for me. Obviously, other things would be taking time out. When you were talking about actually taking time out and not thinking that it's selfish to take time out for myself, because that used to be a big thing. It's like constantly working, constantly doing things for other people because there's love there, and realizing actually, you know what, you can't pour from an empty cup. You have to give yourself that time as well, and you have to practice what you preach. You know, telling people that you love, oh, you need to take some time out, you need to take care of yourself, yet you don't do it for yourself. You know, you're not really practicing self-love. So no, I think those are the two main things. Just not feeling guilty, not feeling selfish about taking time out to do the things I want to do. And just like yourself, it's like leaving the corporate world and following, you know, what seemed like a dream, and thinking, well, this is, you know, self-indulgent. Actually thinking, well, no, this is practicing self-love. This is doing what I want to do, and not feeling guilty about it. So
I also think it's when it comes to, because what it reminds me of, like, immediately what I think of is I used to believe that when I would give too much of myself, that it was not self-love. But then something magical started happening when I reframed it. And it was, I started to recognize that, like, for example, I would take way too many calls throughout the day. And I was, you know, like, I would have like colleagues and everyone say, you know, you're giving too much of yourself away. You're giving too much of yourself away. But then when you see the way that it impacts other people, that gives you positive reinforcement. When you start collecting data is a positive thing, you know? And when I reframed my mind and I started looking at it as, look at all the amazing and beautiful things that I'm gaining, whether it's, you know, appreciation from others or data that's making me better at what I do. When I started recognizing all the opportunity that I could manifest for myself and stop viewing it as I'm giving, like, negative, like I'm giving myself away, I started to feel a lot better despite the fact that I was working the same amount of hours. So I think a lot of it is also, you know, just because you're spending a lot of time or you're giving a lot of yourself away to people doesn't necessarily mean that you don't respect yourself. Because if you're gaining something from it, you know, then that is also a form of self-love. But I think it starts with the attitude you have, the mindset.
You know, one thing I think is crazy, and I know, Brian, we've got to recap in a sec, but is this conversation that we're actually having about what we mentioned a little while ago of Alex, myself, Brian, you know, what are we good at? actually we've got into a world where we're able to talk about our failures and what we're bad at.
That Westy.
Time's up, yeah. But Brian, just go to the recap.
Take us home, buddy.
All right. Jonathan, Ravi, Alex, Travis, beautiful conversation. I hope we continue on this topic in the coming weeks. Thank you all for joining Lead, Laugh, Love. We love you. Don't forget to practice that self-love today and always.
All right, there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Episode 10 of Lead, Laugh, Love. Had no idea where we were going to go with that one today, but always appreciate these guys' brilliant perspective. If you didn't catch the common thread and recurring theme, please love yourself. It's the keystone before finding love in your work and others and all these other places you can find love. You got to be finding it within yourself first. Please reach out, connect with all of us. We got a nice little family and community going that we'd love all of you to be a part of. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this one up and hopefully see you guys next week for the next episode of Lead, Laugh, Love. Thank you so much for joining us. Take care.